This podcast is part of Mishmash Media. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Welcome to another episode of Curbcast. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And every week, my buddy and I review an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm in order, a chronological order, scene by scene. And Stephen, we are up to the penultimate Season 6 episode. Definitely one cherry on top of the fantastic Season 6 cake that has been so far. An episode that I really enjoyed with a wonderful guest appearance by Alan Partridge, a.k.a. Steve Coogan, the therapists. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, good episode. Love Steve Coogan. Obviously famous for working with Ricky Gervais and various other British comedians. But yeah, surprise appearance, but a much welcome one and a great episode.
Yeah, and also, like I said, his character, Alan Partridge, which he's done, I think, for 30 years. That's his most famous role, but I've never watched the show, but I'm sure our British listeners will know who he is and probably enjoy him as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. He was great in this. Just a bumbling, insecure therapist. I thought he played it really well.
And probably with a bit of anxiety or depression as well.
Yeah, definitely.
He seemed very, especially when he came out of prison, he was very depressed. Made him worse.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why he would be a bit shaken up after prison. You know, a person who's probably never really been even close to the prison experience being thrown in there, and especially being fucked over by Larry, that would add to that pretty shitty experience. But just even beforehand, he just seems really uncertain of himself and really insecure. Seems like he needs a bit of therapy himself.
He does, which he does get later on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I don't think any self-respecting therapist with a spine would allow their patient to bring them over to their ex-wife's house to demand that, you know, the advice they gave him was their fault, not the patient's fault. Most therapists would say, sorry, that's unprofessional, go away. But he goes,
yeah, definitely unprofessional, maybe even unethical.
Totally, yeah. And just, you know, on a personal level, just very insecure, you know, not very confident in his own advice. Even if it was bad advice, he should own it. He shouldn't go along and sort of concede to Larry like that.
Yeah, well, he does own it. He does try and, you know, right the wrongs with Larry, but then he gets to the point where through certain events and misunderstandings, he goes to jail.
Yeah, no, it all kind of falls apart for him.
It does.
If you want to email us, you can, curbcastpod@gmail.com. And we've got some social media as well. Curbcastpod is our handle, and you can check out all of our social media accounts in the show notes. And if you want to support us financially, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/mishmash media. And for $1 a month, you can help us just keep the lights on and get access to these episodes a bit earlier than normal. And if you don't want to support us financially, but you want to help us out anyway, you can rate us or review us on your podcast app of choice, or just tell someone you might know in real life about us. You know, maybe know a Curb fan, a family member, a friend, or someone like that. And you might think they might enjoy us. So yeah, let them know.
Indeed. Any support or any word of mouth or whatever goes a long way.
That's right.
Anyway, let's do it, man. The Therapists, Season 6, Episode 9. Aired in the US on HBO for the very first time on November 4th, 2007. Larry devises an overly elaborate plan to win back Cheryl. He does so by trying to get on her therapist's good side. Meanwhile, Larry accuses Marty Funkhauser of taking charity money under false pretenses. And another time within a couple of seasons, Steve, we see another person get given money, but they're not using it for the intended purpose.
Yeah, I think Larry should just stop giving out money.
I think so. I think it's a sign, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had various discussions on, you know, what's appropriate when it comes to receiving other people's money, you know, either as a loan or charity, you know, how much say the giver of that money has over what that recipient does with the money. You know, I think we more or less agreed that if it's a small amount, maybe it's none of their business, or, you know, maybe they should just keep out of it. But if it's a larger amount, there was the party, I can't remember which episode it was in season 6, but Larry gave the guy $10,000. And
yeah, I think it was a couple of episodes ago, yeah.
Yeah, and he used it for a birthday party in which Richard Lewis was doing a stand-up act, I believe.
That's right, he was the guest, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Simon's birthday, yeah.
I think in that episode we agreed that, you know, that amount of money, Larry probably was in the right to say something to him, but the smaller amount, I think in season 4 or 5, where it was the jacket, was $500 or $1,500, something like that.
I think it was 500, yeah.
500, and you know that we were like, well, I was, and I'm fairly certain you agreed or kind of agreed, maybe that didn't warrant such a strong opinion from Larry. But yeah, I think Larry just needs to stop being charitable. I'm surprised he is charitable in the first place. You know, it's not really in his nature to be giving a shit about anyone else. But if he is going to give money for his own sake, he should probably just do it, and then whatever happens after that is whatever happens. Do it with less strings.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just, for his own sanity, because he seems to get really bugged by it.
He does. Well, I think we've mentioned several times that we think that Larry is inherently a good person anyway. Like he'll help his friends or even acquaintances under certain circumstances. And I feel like Larry understands his wealth and he's like privileged enough to, be generous to people as well. What about you?
Yeah, I think he's like most people. He's got good and bad. I don't think he is a maliciously evil person. I just think
No.
I just think he's so wrapped up in his own bullshit and his own idea of how the world should be. And he gets frustrated when other people don't share his same views about pointless minutiae of this or that, or, this etiquette or that protocol. Most people just sort of, roll with it. Whereas he gets really, really, he gets a bee in his bonnet and that becomes everything. Everything stops except that. And he just won't let it go. So I don't think that's evil or maliciousness. I just think it's, an inability to, to just sort of ingratiate oneself with the world around them. And, it just causes problems. It causes consternation and frustration and people just get the shits with it. But saying that, he can be a cunt as well. He does have his...
Oh, he can, yeah. We've seen situations where he's been real cunty.
Oh, totally. And in this episode, the next episode, the season finale, there's a real cunty moment that, we'll talk about next week. But I think it's one of his straight up just asshole moments.
Yeah, with the cerebral pause. Yeah.
With the secretary. So, I don't think overall he's a bad person. I just think he's an alien who does some bad things.
Yeah, almost like an alien that does bad things, almost like Mr. Bean.
Yeah, there is a Mr. Bean quality to him, actually. Mr. Bean is very narcissistic and bumbling, and is very self-centered, but I don't think he's like maliciously evil. I don't think he enjoys fucking people over. I just don't think he cares.
He's a good guy, but he just he's caught up in weird situations. All right, scene 1 of The Therapists. Larry is at a bar with Cheryl trying to woo her back to him, and it was a very interesting opening to the episode, Steve, because I didn't expect Larry and Cheryl trying to rekindle the marriage with Cheryl. I was quite surprised that was so early on.
Yeah, it was a bit unexpected.
Must have taken a lot for her for him to convince her to at least go out for dinner and have a talk.
Yeah, look, I still think Cheryl, even though her decision was very firm when she left him, in the TiVo guy, and he's proven since then why she should have left. I don't know. There's always that, when you're married to someone for 10 plus years, 11 years now, I guess, in the show's timeline, there's always going to be that second guessing yourself. So it doesn't surprise me in a way that she, very firmly left him. But then, a couple of weeks later or a month later is trying it out again. It would take a while to be, emotionally, it's a very firm decision, or intellectually, sorry, it's a very firm decision, but emotionally, there would still be a lot of grey for her. So,
yeah, she doesn't quite want to, she still kind of wants to be with Larry as well.
Yeah,
she definitely still has feelings for him.
Yeah, exactly. She knows that. I don't know. It's like, I've been in relationships like that where, the relationship has ended, it's done. There's no chance of it really being rekindled in its current form, but it's never 100% a clean break. There's always like, you see each other, you try and be friends, maybe like casual sex, like, you try and stay connected in some way and it's usually never going to work. And I just see this as that, it's like intellectually she thought, no, this is done. There's nothing left. But emotionally, you can't just turn that off.
No, you can't.
And look, to be fair to Larry, he has, in this episode, he has seemingly become a new person. Like he says, he's dressing differently. He
yes, he changed his attire. That's what I was going to mention. Yeah,
he seems like he's put in a genuine effort to be the man that Cheryl wants. Or just to be a person. I guess. I think she even says, like, you look like a human.
Yeah, and she even says that she loves the new Larry, like,
exactly.
Ironically.
Yeah, so I think she's giving him a chance to prove him or to redeem himself or to to step up to the plate. I think it's a combination of her just having lingering feelings and still being slightly confused or conflicted, but also giving Larry an opportunity because she is a very forgiving, understanding, empathetic woman. That's something that's always highlighted by her actions and also by the other characters in the show. She's a fantastic person, so it makes sense that she would. Even after Larry's decade plus of like fucking her over and fucking up and just being shit, it makes sense that she would give him another shot.
Yeah, after all they've gone through as well.
Exactly. And, their marriage, although towards the end, especially in like sort of from season 4 onwards, was mostly pretty terrible. We saw a lot of love and affection and a more charming side to Larry's personality and their marriage as a whole in the first sort of 3 seasons. So, I don't think it was all bad. And so, there's probably still a lot of that for her as well of thinking, well, maybe there could be more of that again.
There could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But we find out that it's not her that's kind of making the decisions. Cheryl appreciates, while Larry is trying to change and become a different person. When Larry invites her to dinner and a movie, she says she'll talk to her therapist about it to make sure she's doing the right thing. So a little part of me tells me that Cheryl doesn't have a complete influence on making the decisions to go back to Larry. The therapist is trying to guide her as well.
Yeah, I could imagine her therapist saying, look, more or less like saying, give it a shot. Like not saying you should or shouldn't, but just saying like, just try it. What have you got to lose?
Exactly.
Gentle encouragement. That's what I would imagine her therapist is doing. Like, well, just try it out. And if it doesn't feel right, or if you're still a jerk, leave or don't do it again. But it's a sensitive situation, and Cheryl's trying to be true to her feelings and her decisions. So I understand why she's trying to step carefully through it and consult with the therapist before making a firm decision. So,
and I like as well because I don't know if you read the behind the scenes about season 6, Steve, but it was around this time Larry was actually going through his real life divorce. So
okay.
A lot of his real life, like stuff that happened in his real life, he incorporated into the show. So it's quite brave of Larry to incorporate a divorce subplot, considering he was going through a divorce at the time of filming. That's quite brave of him, actually.
Well, Larry fairly often uses his real life, his historical, things that have happened in his past or even in his present, to inspire his storyline. So it's not completely out of character.
But I haven't heard of a situation where he's used something so raw.
Yeah, I guess a divorce is so. I guess divorce is a bit more personal. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe for him,
to do it.
Maybe for him it was therapeutic. Maybe it was in some way. People use art and creativity and writing as a catharsis for trying times. So maybe for him it was that. Maybe he thought that it was a way to clarify how he thought about it.
And to try and get over the grief as well.
Exactly. I don't know. Or maybe...
Yeah, I just found it interesting how it was like, it was mirroring his real life at the time. That's incredible.
I didn't know that, but it's admirable that he did that for sure.
Yeah, I read that like last week, like after we recorded last. I was like, oh, what? Larry went through an actual divorce around this time? It's like, oh.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't know that.
So you can see when Larry, he goes through so many emotions, more than what we usually see of him. We see sorrow, we see fear, we see loneliness. We see all that stuff. So I can imagine a lot of those feelings were taken from the real world and Larry's real situation and incorporated into the show. So it seemed very real to me, and I can see why.
Yeah, totally. People tend to be a lot more emotionally vulnerable and honest when they're going through the ringer. So, it doesn't, it makes sense that Larry is being a bit more, just experiencing his emotions. He's not just trying to cover them up or detach from them. He's being pretty honest about them with himself and others. And a divorce would be, especially an unexpected divorce. It's not like, it blindsided Larry. Like Larry had no idea that Cheryl was at that point and that she was going to do that. So, I think he's just trying to catch up to reality as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But, it was just interesting. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And to cap the scene, Larry asks how to tip a bartender when they order drinks. And he almost slips up, Steve. He almost slips up. He talks about how to tip bartenders, and he goes on another one of his usual short rants. So Larry had a fantastic run, in this scene. And, this thing almost makes Cheryl reconsider. Almost.
Yeah, when he starts talking about, do they work for their tips and, how hard are they working? It's almost just like, come on, Larry, like just let it go.
You're so close, you're 95% of the way there, mate. You just got to sail through.
Yeah, and also like Larry is usually as we've theorized, like a bit of a champion of the working class. So the fact that he's like ragging on bartenders for getting some tips when they're on minimum wage is a bit, a bit of a different direction for him than recent events.
Yeah. Actually, in an earlier episode in this season, he actually defended a bartender at Ted Danson's party. So, yeah, it's quite a contrast.
Yeah.
In the next scene, Larry is talking to his therapist, explaining how well his reconciliation with Cheryl is going and his future plans with her. The therapist, named Dr. Bright, played by Steve Coogan, he says to take it one day at a time, as he tells Larry that he needs to hold her hand when they're in the cinema and say, I love you, next time he sees her. And when they're at the movie/dinner date, Larry needs to give her the ultimatum. Move in by Monday, or the marriage cannot be reconciled. Damn, that's pretty full on. And the therapist also adds that Larry is a pussy if he doesn't give the ultimatum. And the therapist ends their session and says time's up as Larry hesitantly leaves. Wow, what a terrible therapist this guy is. First of all, he says you've got to give your ex-wife an ultimatum. You can't let her think about it or whatever. And he goes on to say that Larry's a pussy if he doesn't do this. That's, I don't want my money back.
Yeah, it's a gamble. I think he thinks that if Larry gives her the ultimatum, that she'll respect him, that he's being decisive, that the ball's in his court now. And it's not like she's hit the ball over to his court. He's taken the ball. He's like, no, it's on my terms now, even though she left. But obviously it backfires. So it's a gamble.
Oh, badly.
And it, it does not pay off.
No, which we find out in the next scene. Cheryl and Larry are watching a foreign art house film as he looks at her hand. He reaches out to hold it. She responds in kind. He looks at her in the eyes and tells her that he loves her. And it's implied, the scene actually cuts a few seconds after that happens, so we're not sure what her reaction was. Very interesting how it was it's the unseen reaction that makes it interesting. The scene cuts to I won't say the Davids, Larry and Cheryl, at dinner. Cheryl says she is impressed with the new Larry. They're getting along really well as Marty and his wife run into them. This is another situation, Steve, where Marty runs into Larry at a restaurant. This happened a couple of times this season. He's always in the same spot as Larry. Funny, huh?
Yeah, a lot of coincidences in Larry's world, as we've said many, many times. Mostly bad. He'll say something and then he'll see the person that he's offended, and it'll just make things worse.
And it just happens to be Marty 3-4 times a season.
Yeah,
he's in the whole of LA in the same restaurant at the same time. They're there. It's always the way.
Yeah, it would make sense that they're in the same place occasionally, but not this often.
It's almost like one party's following the other party,
Yeah, some stalking going on.
That's right. Marty is happy and surprised that they are sitting together. Marty asks Larry to sponsor him for a walkathon to raise money for Alzheimer's. Larry asks what Marty's father-in-law, who suffers from the disease, does during the day.
Jesus.
And Marty's like, he goes for walks, he watches TV, just does all these very mundane things. And Larry's just really curious about it. He's not trying to be rude. He's actually genuinely curious as to what an Alzheimer's sufferer actually does.
Yeah, there's that weird sort of alien-esque, he's an alien trying to understand human behavior element to this of I can't imagine what they would do, so you have to tell me.
Yeah, I know. He can't just read go on Google or go to Encyclopedia or something. No, he's got to ask Marty what does he do during the day? What does a person who doesn't know his name, what they do?
Pointless.
It wasn't malicious. It was just very what a child would ask. If you explain to a child what Alzheimer's is and that grandpa has Alzheimer's, even a child would probably say, "Oh, what does grandpa do during the day?" It just sounds like what a kid would ask. It's just that curiosity.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's funny. Larry, at the behest of Cheryl, donates $250 for the cause, for Marty's cause, as they walk off. Cheryl praises Larry for his donation. She is happy that he is a different person, aka the new Larry. Larry makes the decision to tell Cheryl or give Cheryl the ultimatum about moving in, and Cheryl becomes offended about the deadline for his request. She walks off and says no to his ultimatum. The scene cuts to him running after her into the car park. He claims his therapist told him what to say as he keeps babbling and trying to take Cheryl back. Cheryl doesn't listen, jumps in the car, drives off. So Larry, once again, he just needed, he was in the last 100 meters of the marathon and he fell over, basically.
Yeah, he fumbled it. He cooked it.
Yeah. He was close. He was absolutely close. And we see in later scenes that Larry is really, really angry with the therapist. He's, he's blaming the therapist. And he said he was so close.
Yeah,
I can see why he's upset.
So I think that's a bit spineless of Larry. The fact that we'll talk about it we'll just talk about it when it happens.
When it happens, yeah. The next day, Larry angrily tells Dr. Bright that he ruined his life, quote unquote. Dr. Bright says that it is a setback. He tries to make the excuse with the terrible advice that he had to see another suicidal patient, quote unquote. So basically not another patient. And he had to get Larry out of the door as soon as possible. Larry grabs him and tells Dr. Bright that it was he who came up with the ultimatum and he needs to help make it right. So, So Dr. Bright gets roped into Larry trying to attempt to rekindle the marriage.
Yeah, look, I think that the therapist, that's terrible advice. Especially the fact that their separation is still so fresh, and without even really knowing Cheryl and without having spent much time with Larry, thinking that Cheryl would be the sort of person who would respect Larry, just sort of taking that sort of initiative or making that demand, straight up terrible advice. But Larry still didn't need to heed that advice. The fact that he doesn't take any responsibility and he just says, well, it's all your fault. It's okay, well, Larry wasn't in some helpless, vulnerable position where, and he wasn't manipulated into it. Like he was still, if Larry was just so broken down by Cheryl leaving him and he just had no autonomy because he was so weak and so just fucked up over it, I could blame the therapist entirely. It's like, well, Larry was so suggestible and manipulatable, you shouldn't have done that. But Larry, Larry's obviously suffering, but he's not infantilized to the point where he can't make decisions for himself. So the fact that he decided to take that advice, it's a shared responsibility. So I think it's pretty shitty of Larry to just say, well, it's all your fault.
Well, now I think about it, I think the opposite of you. I actually think that Larry is at the point where he's lost Cheryl. He's lost the routine, he's lost the companionship, he's lost everything. And because he's been with Cheryl for such a long time, he doesn't remember what it's like to be on his own. And I kind of feel like it has infantilized Larry. I feel like Larry's at the point where he's so numb. Like we see in the next episode, this is just my opinion, of course, but we see in the next episode that it's gotten to the point where Larry's bedridden in the first scene.
Yeah.
Like he can't even get out of bed. He's that depressed for Cheryl's absence that he actually, it physically affects him as well as mentally. Like I feel like Larry has no idea how to get Cheryl back, even though there's plenty of options. But I feel like Larry's so numb to the point where he tries to go for professional advice, and the therapist gives him absolutely terrible advice. And I 100% blame Dr. Bright for it.
Okay.
I'm actually the opposite to you. The first scenario you came up with, I agree with that one, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I that's a good point. Yeah, look, I if I had to apportion blame in terms of like percentage, just to make my point clearer, I'd probably say 80% is on the therapist and maybe 20% is on, Larry. He's obviously broken, he's obviously depressed, he's obviously numb, he's obviously lost, he's adrift, he's a wreck of a human at the moment. But at the same time, I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that he's so witless and so helpless that he has no idea at all about anything. Like, if you're married to a person for 11 years, regardless of how you feel at the moment, you would have some insight, some feeling, some inkling, something about how they would react to an ultimatum, like a strong, that's a pretty ballsy move. Like, even if you're completely adrift, you would have some idea, even a vague idea of like, maybe this won't go down so well. So I don't believe that he wouldn't have had even one thought of doubt, or one element of doubt, or one second guessing of that advice. I just don't see any evidence to suggest that he's so like suggestible that the therapist could have said anything and he would have just gone along with it. He's obviously fucked up, but I don't think he's that fucked up.
Yeah, so you think it was pretty poorly executed, this?
Oh, totally. Like, straight up bad advice from the therapist. And also, to be fair to Larry, when you go to a therapist, you're paying for their advice. So you take their advice on good faith that it will be beneficial. So, Larry trusted his opinion because it's like, well, you're a professional, I'm paying you money. And so far, up until this point, the advice has seemingly been good. He has no reason not to doubt more advice. Like the new Larry obviously paid off, the putting the hand on Cheryl and saying, I love you, that paid, so far.
Yeah, it was all good advice.
It was on a good run. So I don't, I also want to be fair to Larry and understand that it's not like he's given dubious, he has no reason not to trust that it wouldn't be a good piece of advice, but it's a bit of an escalation. And again, I just think Larry should have had some inkling somewhere deep down, through all of his numbness and depression and fucked upness, that maybe this won't go down so well.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe Larry is one of those people who became too comfortable with his life with Cheryl, with a life with a significant other. Like, obviously, 11 years is a big chunk of someone's life, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not enough where you don't know how to function without these people. Like, we've all read stories of people who've been married 60, 70, 80 years, right?
Yep.
And we've heard stories where like one of the spouses dies, but then the other one dies like 2 weeks later because, it's just like they just, they're old and then they fall asleep naturally and die because they can't live without the other person.
Yeah, their purpose,
and they can't function.
Like their purpose for life is gone.
Yeah, basically their purpose for living and for life is with the other person. But this is like 50, 60, 70, 80 years with the same person. Maybe Larry is his, like, even though he's been married to Cheryl for 11 years, which isn't nothing to sneeze at, that's still a big chunk of your life, 11 years.
But also, like, again, just to sort of, I don't want to be argumentative or, I think you and I mostly agree. We're just disagreeing on the more subtle aspects or the more nuanced aspects of the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm probably trying to justify the episode.
No. I think it's, and it's okay to disagree as well. Yes, Larry loved Cheryl and obviously is completely adrift without her, is rudderless without her. I get that. And, you would be, because if anyone connected Larry to the human race, it was Cheryl. Like he was like her only gateway into what normal human behavior is. If she wasn't in his life in any way, he would be way worse. Like, she's the one who kept him slightly sane sometimes, you know. So, you know, he's obviously very reliant upon her for all sorts of reasons. But he's also very selfish. You know, he's also very self-centered. He treats her like shit. And he's got a lot going on outside. He's got a lot to live for outside of Cheryl. Like, he's got, you know, a successful career. He's got friends. He's got a lot of prospects. It's not like, you know, she was the main part of his life, but she wasn't his whole life. And also, you know, Larry's ego and his own little weird world that he's made up is his own. You know, Cheryl is secondary to Larry's like own perceptions of the world, you know, his own rules and theories and ideas and protocols. That, I think, they're more important to Larry than Cheryl is. So again, I understand what you're saying about how Larry is completely lost. I think that's true, but I don't think he's lost everything. I think he's still got a lot of what makes Larry left.
He's not lost to the point where he's basically numb. You know, he's like he can't think. He can't make any decisions. He's got to rely on other people.
No, that's what you just said. You just said exactly what I'm trying to say. I've been waffling on for 10 minutes. He still has the ability to make some decisions, and he decided to take that advice and say it. So I think some responsibility should be laid at his feet, because he still has some self-awareness and some insight into how Cheryl would react, because they've been together for 11 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. He shouldn't have relied too much on the therapist.
No.
He should have just used the advice and then considered it, and then probably thought, oh, the ultimatum's a bit much. Maybe I'll just
that's what I mean.
For Cheryl to move back in and give her time, you know?
Yeah, just like he should have had some insight that this could be, even if he weighed it up in his head and thought, no, you know what, it's worth me trying the ultimatum. Even if he thought it was a gamble worth taking, it should have occurred to him at least that this could go wrong. There's some chance that it could go wrong. Like, he should have known at least that much.
Who knows? Maybe in the moment he thought it was the right thing. You know, we sometimes do silly things. We think in the moment that it's the right choice, but then in hindsight, it's not. It could have been one of those situations as well.
Yeah, that's true, actually. And actually, you know, the more we talk about it, the more we tend to do these deep psychological dives from time to time that happen out of the blue. I guess Larry as well, you know, because Cheryl left him unexpectedly, he probably feels very powerless. And for him, this ultimatum is a way, even though, again, it backfires completely and it leaves him with less power, he thinks that maybe this is a way to gain self-respect. Not, you know, it's not a power move on Cheryl. It's for me to get my own power back. It's to get my own confidence back. If I change the goalposts and bring it into my terms, you know, it's a way to instill some confidence again after being so devastated. So that's probably part of his motivation as well. Like, you know, I need to regain some power in this situation, or some leverage, something.
Yeah, but then he relies too much on Dr. Bright, who
totally.
Well, he doesn't give good advice. We know that for a fact.
No.
And then Larry gets so close to getting Cheryl back. Cheryl's almost convinced, but that one line screws everything up, which is kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, he kind of built up, you know, on the previous date, and then in the movie theater, like he built up this goodwill and this like foundation for maybe rekindling the relationship, and then he just explodes it by saying something very dumb.
Yes. Oh well. That's the way it is.
But
Next
also,
episode,
you know,
Larry finds something better. We won't say at the moment, but Larry moves on to better things.
That's it. Yeah. And, you know, it is Curb as well, where, you know, something good rarely lasts. You know, Larry will be on a good wicket, and then he'll fuck it up, or something else will fuck it up. So, you know, it's
even
not completely,
within a couple of scenes, it'll happen.
Yeah. It's not completely, well, it's completely in line with the rest of Curb, where Larry's on a good run, you know, he's having a good day or a good week, and then he just sabotages it completely. So, you know, it's pretty standard.
It is. Cheryl answers the door to Larry and the therapist, Dr. Bright, as they walk in. Larry compliments the beach view in her new place. She has a really nice beachside, is it a house or a condo?
I think so.
What would you say? It's a house?
It looks like a house. I mean, it's pretty big.
House, yeah.
And
she's always wanted to live on the beach.
Yeah, and then she says, I think it's like a little passive-aggressive dig at Larry when she says, and now I can, saying like, you know, I don't have to worry about what you think. Like, I can do things for myself.
That's right. And actually, it was at the advice of her therapist to live by the beach. So that's actually good advice.
Yeah.
Unlike Dr. Bright. Cheryl's therapist seems to have more better ideas than Dr. Bright.
Yeah, she seems a lot more competent and self-assured, for sure.
She does. Dr. Bright admits that he gave Larry flawed advice as he tries to defend his actions. He claims that there wasn't a clear picture of Cheryl to him, and he thought that she was the kind of person who doesn't mind ultimatums. So Dr. Bright, goes back on Larry and says, "Well, Larry didn't explain, didn't describe you well enough, and I thought you're one of those people who didn't mind ultimatums from what Larry painted of you, painted you of."
It just reminds me of, like when there's an angry parent and they catch their kids fighting and it's like, he started it. No, he started it. No, he started it. They're just trying to both shift the blame onto one another.
Yes. It's like, you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Larry and Dr. Bright, I just wrote here, Larry and Dr. Bright continue to dig their graves further. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, they're both got
as
shovels.
they waffle on. Yeah. They just can't get out of it. They're in a hole. And they keep digging instead of trying to climb their way out. They keep digging. Basically.
Yeah, it's funny. They're both.
You've got to see the scene to understand.
Yeah, they're both kind of digging their own hole, but then they're also digging their combined hole.
They are, yeah. They're going to be buried in the same hole.
Exactly.
Dr. Bright admits that it was he who came up with everything, and he claims that he invented the new Larry. It wasn't Larry who came up with everything. Larry gets angry, and once again, like children did too, etc. He says he becomes the new Larry, or he became the new Larry by himself, as Cheryl asks them both to leave. So they're both trying to shift blame to each other.
Yeah, and see, this is what I mean about how Larry's taking credit for the good things, but he's also not willing to, like, he's taking credit for, he's saying, well, I came up with the good Larry. I'm the good Larry. It's not you, it's me. But so he's trying to push away the advice that the therapist gave him, when it worked out well for him. He's trying to say, no, that's me. But when the advice is bad, he's like, no, that's not me. It's like you either take all of it or you take none of it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think there is a bit of responsibility at his feet.
There is, but I feel like Larry doesn't want to be seen by Cheryl as the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because we know Larry's so desperate to get Cheryl back, and he'll basically do anything to save face to get her back. So, I don't know. I think he's just clutching at straws here.
Totally.
He knows that he holds part of the blame for what's happened. But, I feel like he's trying everything. It's like you're drowning in the ocean, and you're trying to clutch onto the lifeboat,
Yeah,
it's like I think Larry's at that point.
Yeah, no, I get his motivation. I'm just sort of saying, in terms of responsibility, that's just where I'm coming from.
Okay, fair enough. I just think he does it to save face to Cheryl,
yeah, 100%.
Just to make it look like he's not the bad guy.
Yeah, he's doing it out of self-interest.
Self-interest as well, yeah, and also to get Cheryl back. That's his main objective.
That's part of his self-interest. So
yeah, you're true. Yeah, of course.
So you told Larry to give me an ultimatum. Fine. Okay, now I know that. So
and I just want to say
he's to blame for the
90% to blame for everything.
90? I think 100%. 100% to blame.
Well, I'm not taking the lion's share. I'm just saying.
No, take more than the lion's share. Take the whole share.
In the next scene, a short-haired Jeff. he's got not a buzz cut, but it's kind of like it's not shaven as well. It's kind of say you shave your head, it's like a week or two after.
It's about 2 to 3 weeks. So I shave my head regularly. I shave it down to a blade 0, and his hair's about 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so, kind of like that. So a short-haired Jeff, in reference to last week's episode, the N-word, is accosting Dr. Bright about his advice, and he and Larry are chatting on the couch. So this time, they've gone from Cheryl's new place to Jeff's place, and Larry and Dr. Bright are on the couch. Larry comes up with an idea to figure out what Cheryl's therapist said to her. So it's like a light bulb moment as they're talking, and he walks out. The scene cuts to Larry and Jeff telling Leon that he needs to look like he's stealing the therapist, or Cheryl's therapist's purse, and that Larry will tackle him and get the purse so he can look like the hero. Larry agrees to do it on the proviso that he fucks up Larry, as he says someone needs to get fucked up during the confrontation. He's like, I can beat you up, and I can break your arm, I can punch you in the face, stuff like that. He goes, you have to sell it, you have to make it look real. I've got to, punch you a couple of times, might have to use a weapon on you or something. And Larry's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
Leon's like, you got to make it look realistic. I think Leon just has all this rage.
Yeah, Leon loves, what's the word? He loves
a good scuffle, doesn't he?
He does. He loves to rough it, and
he likes a good dance.
He likes a bit of a dance, a bit of a tumble. But he's a bit of an extremist, I guess. When it comes to how things should occur. He's always like,
it's always extremes. Yeah, he's always got.
Yeah, it's always like,
I've got to break your arm, Larry, or I've got to do something to you. Yeah,
it's always just a bit beyond the pale.
Yeah, a little bit beyond just a little bit.
Yeah.
Beyond the power, yeah. But Leon, he's getting really into it as well. He really wants to do it. Larry disagrees with the part about him getting fucked up, and Leon claims that Larry would be more of a hero if he has severe injuries. So he won't let go of it. Loretta and Auntie Ray walk in. They ask what's happening. Leon explains the plan to them as they get angry with the idea. They don't want Leon to get arrested or to get in any trouble. They don't like the idea of what's happening about Leon fucking up Larry as well. Loretta suggests that Dr. Bright should go with the purse plan or the robbery plan and that he should do it as he got Larry into this mess. He reluctantly accepts as everyone else agrees. So we have seen over this season Loretta kind of have some intimate moments with Larry. I mean, not like sexual or anything, but kind of like there's like real truthful moments between those two. And I feel like this is another one of those situations. I feel like Loretta cares deeply about Larry, which we find out, next episode what happens. But I think she cares about Larry very deeply. And I feel like she doesn't want, like she believes that Dr. Bright started all this kind of stuff, but I feel like she wants to protect Larry as well. She's like a mother. She's got her own children as well, and she probably sees Larry as like, I wouldn't say one of her children, but kind of like someone that needs to be looked after.
Part of her family.
Part of her family, yeah, exactly. And even when they don't want Leon getting involved either, because obviously her brother. So
and I think as well, even though she's, they've come. There's been tension on and off throughout the season. I think on some level, she still very deeply appreciates the fact that they were able to stay with them after losing everything in the hurricane. That's regardless of if I were in their situation and you put me up at your house for, indefinitely until I could get back on my feet. Even if you and I had a lot of interpersonal tension, I would still have a very deep respect for the fact that you've done that for me. So I think that plays into it as well, that even though she might think Larry is a weirdo and probably doesn't like a lot of his character traits and probably, sees a lot of his foibles and, just all the stuff that we see. I think at the same time, she's also like, yeah, but he also put me up at his house and hasn't kicked me out and has also probably befriended, I think she likes the fact that him and Leon have become close as well. Like they've become best buddies. So, she probably loves the fact that her brother's found a good friend who maybe is a calming influence on him. Even though they get up to their schemes, I still think Larry's a bit less wild than Leon. So, maybe she appreciates that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a multitude of things as well.
Yeah.
But I just feel like with Loretta, I agree. I feel like because he gets along with Leon, and also in addition, with the fact that she's very grateful with what Larry and Cheryl at the time did.
Totally.
I feel like she wants to protect Larry as well. I found that a very sincere kind of moment. I feel like
100%.
She had lots of care and compassion for Larry. And
I mean,
well,
she would see.
I don't know. I just felt something.
Yeah, no, I agree.
She has no attachment to Dr. Bright. Doesn't know him from a bar or so.
No,
she's happy to throw him under the bus. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. And I think the fact that Cheryl left Larry and he's obviously going through a bit of a time. He's probably. I can imagine them having like some pretty personal moments. Like a lot of conversations and. Larry probably trying to understand what, because Loretta and Cheryl are of a similar age, like in their 40s or 50s, or sorry, maybe in their late 30s, early 40s. Larry probably thinks that Loretta would have a lot of insight into how, a woman of that age would think. So I think I could imagine them having a lot of personal conversations as well a bond would have grown, especially since Cheryl left as well.
For sure. And we have seen, I think in an earlier episode where they were at the appliance store to go get a toaster.
Yeah.
A new toaster, which the old toaster affected Leon and Loretta's job prospects. We do see that scene where Loretta and Larry are talking about what kind of people they like to date. And then Larry kind of half jokingly says he likes black women. So, and they kind of get into like a really deep conversation about it as well. So, we have seen hints of them kind of getting to know each other a bit more in that way as well.
Yeah, there is an intimacy and a bond there that's slowly developed. And I think it's only been strengthened since Cheryl's left, for sure.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Larry and Dr. Bright are behind a tree waiting for Cheryl's therapist to walk out, as Dr. Bright is very nervous. She's walking past the tree. Dr. Bright grabs her as Larry tackles Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright runs off without the bag. Larry hands her the bag. And I love this. So Larry and the therapist are talking and, the therapist is very thankful. And she says, would you like to, have a coffee or something, to kind of ask what his name is. And he says his name's Larry and et cetera, et cetera. And I love how in the background, we don't see this too often in Curb, but like a major plot point happens in the background of like the forefront of the scene. We see a couple of police officers tackle Dr. Bright in the background and they arrest him. And the therapist, meanwhile, thanks Larry for his bravery. She asks for his name, which he gives. And we see the cops are handcuffing Dr. Bright fight in the background. I think that's terrific. It's like you think, oh, that's fine. Like Dr. Bright might run off and maybe in the next scene we'll find out he got arrested or something. But no, we actually see it in real time. It's clever.
Yeah, and the fact that Larry doesn't really do much to come to his aid. He doesn't
He just
go
looks at him and just looks at the therapist, yeah.
Well, I think he realizes, well, I could help him out, or if I help him out, the therapist might, she might realize that it's all just a big con. So
Yes.
yeah, and she's like, well, what's more important, Cheryl or my therapist who's fucked me over?
And he's really pissed at Dr. Bright as well for giving him the wrong information. So I think in a way he's kind of like, oh, it's fine, I'll leave him. He
Yeah,
doesn't
but to
deserve
let
my
him get
help at the moment
arrested,
for what he's done. Yeah.
is like pretty fucked up. Like,
It is. It
I don't know.
is.
Like,
Well, Larry
if
does
my-
feel bad for him, and he
Yeah.
helps him out eventually to get out, which makes
true,
sense.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a pretty fucked up thing. Like, someone might have given you shit advice, but it's not to the point where you think they deserve to go to prison. I mean, that's pretty.
No, I mean, not
that's
much.
pretty fucked.
Not much to me would warrant letting someone get arrested and not coming to their aid immediately. Like, I would put aside my own personal agenda to, not. I mean, imagine if he lost his license, or regardless of his ability to be a therapist, he doesn't deserve to have his whole life turned upside down over one bit of
No.
bad advice.
But I feel because the therapist's very warm reception to Larry and how thankful she was, I feel like maybe Larry probably thought in that moment, shit, if I go help Dr. Bright, I've ruined. The therapist is basically the bridge to me and Cheryl to be united again. If I fuck this up, I've lost Cheryl forever. I think that's what he's probably thought in that moment. But I reckon if the therapist was really reactive or hostile even to Larry or whatever, Larry probably thought, oh, fuck, I'll just go to help him out. You know, this isn't going anywhere. I have to come up with another plan. But I feel like because he felt like he had one foot in the door basically to go back into Cheryl's life, that's probably why he ignored Dr. Bright and, decided to go with the therapist. What do you think of that?
Yeah, look, I agree. If he thought he had another shot, I think he would have helped out Dr. Bright. But yeah, if he thought that this was his last shot, I think he was just like, no, can't help you, mate. Sorry.
Exactly. If it was Leon, though, I think he would have run for Leon. Because I feel like, they have such a good relationship, he wouldn't want to throw Leon under the bus. But I think because it's someone who
he's
Larry doesn't have
obviously-
an emotional attachment with too, he's like, oh, he's done dirty to Larry as well. Larry probably thinks, oh,
Yeah, obviously he doesn't think very highly of Dr. Bright given the ultimatum. So
I'm surprised he wasn't trying to get his money back. I thought there'd be a subplot where he tries to get a refund or something. Real Larry style. Not quite. But yes, definitely does not. He's not in. Dr. Bright is not in Larry's good books.
How did you do that? I never even saw you.
Well, what was I gonna do? I saw that, and I had to do something.
I can't believe what I just witnessed. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, you're welcome. You take good care of yourself.
Thank
okay?
you. I'm a little shaken.
Take it off. Go get yourself a drink or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I never even asked your name.
Larry and Cheryl's therapist are having coffee at a nearby diner. She's praising Larry for his bravery. Larry says that he needs a therapist as his wife left him recently, and he appears to get emotional about it. She says that Larry seems to be a very good person, and she describes Larry as Clint Eastwood. He walks off and he says a line, I think from a Clint Eastwood film. I don't remember where it was from, but Western film music plays in the background. Did you notice that the Western music was playing in the background?
Yeah, I did.
Like the wow, 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 wow. Yeah, that kind of good, bad, and the ugly kind of song.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like that. Not that piece, but yeah, similar to that. Like
Yeah,
spaghetti
something similar.
Western. Something you'd hear in a spaghetti Western, yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And then Larry kind of has like the Clint Eastwood, the man with no name kind of vibe when he's like standing up and talking and stuff. Pretty cool. He's like channeling his inner into Clint Eastwood there. I thought it was pretty clever. Yeah, but, the therapist seems to really be appreciative of Larry, and we find out even later that she has a bit of an attraction to him as well.
Yeah,
Even though it's not reciprocated.
No, it's there's a term for it where it's like not Stockholm syndrome, but where like it's like rescuer syndrome or something, where you like fall in love with the person who rescue. There's like a clinical or a psychological term for it, but it's that.
It's that, okay. Well, you fall
she's
in love with
overwhelmed
someone who rescued you.
Yeah, you're so overwhelmed with like gratefulness and like just you're sort of shocked as well that you went through the experience that sort of that transcends into romantic feelings.
So that's what we see here. So she's very interested in it. Well, she's interested in Larry at this point.
I think so. And I think as well she's also trying to get her head around who she thinks Larry is compared to what Cheryl's told her.
Yes, and she puts two and two together as well, and thinks that Larry is Cheryl's Larry that she's been talking about.
Yeah, and she would have the impression that Larry's like selfish and, self-centered. Like, I think Cheryl would have painted a pretty bad picture of him because, she left him for those reasons, and she would still be very angry at him over the plane incident and a million other things. So the fact that...
And you always hear their side of the story. You never get two sides of the story in these situations, do you?
Yeah.
The other person always seems, even though they've probably done shitty things, they're always kind of seen as worse than what they actually are.
Yeah. Although, I don't think Cheryl's painting of Larry would be too far off the real Larry.
That's true. She probably embellishes it a little bit.
Yeah, sure, but I don't think they're too dissimilar. I mean, I think this scene is a perfect example. He doesn't do a nice thing to do. He sets up rescuing her as a way to manipulate the situation to get Cheryl. That's pretty fucked up. I think
that is
this is a pretty good case for Cheryl, like painting a bad picture of Larry.
I know. But anyway, this is the start of, what we think is going to be another relationship, but turns out it doesn't.
No.
Larry answers his phone in the car, and it's Cheryl. She says that the therapist said for her to never speak to Larry again. The scene cuts to the walkathon as he spots Jeff in the crowd. He's participating in the walkathon. He walks with Jeff and he explains what happened, and Jeff's like, "Holy cow!" He does his like reaction when he's surprised about something. Larry realizes that the therapist might actually like Larry and want him for herself. And she may have told Cheryl not to pursue him because of that reason, which shocks Jeff. As they're walking, he spots Marty having a drink at a nearby cafe. Larry approaches him and asks why he isn't walking. Marty said that he was never going to walk. And Larry says that Marty took the money under false pretenses, which is a thing that we have seen several times in the last couple of seasons of Curve. And in that moment, Larry has a light bulb moment.
Larry's charity always has strings attached, or expectations.
Always. But we've mentioned several times that we think Marty is like a shit stirrer to Larry. Like Marty just deliberately does this stuff just to fuck him mentally.
Yeah,
it's kind of like he's more like an
an
enemy than a friend, isn't he?
Yeah, or he's just like, maybe he just maintains a friendship, so he's always got access to Larry to have opportunities to mess with him. I don't know. I don't think he likes Larry that much. I mean, he even says
I don't
when
think
Cheryl
so either.
leaves.
I don't think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's clearly demonstrated the fact that he's like, we're gonna, and it's probably another example of him messing with him. As soon as Larry announces that Cheryl's gone, Marty goes, you know what? We've got to stick with Larry. Like, we're loyal to Larry. And then by the end of the episode, he's done a complete 180. That seems like
the TiVo guy. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, that seems like
he's
he's messing with him a bit. He's like saying one thing and then doing another. Like, that would be very confusing. Yeah.
And he knew Larry would be there. He knew Larry would be at the walkathon. So he's just like doing it just to fuck him over,
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah, it just seems like...
He's probably still filthy with what Larry did at Marty's mum's grave as well.
Yeah.
He's probably really he's really still very vindictive about it.
Oh, totally, as you would be. I think he's got a right to have some lingering anger for sure. I would be.
I know how many bunches of flowers there are. There's 3 missing.
Exactly.
I go there 10 times a day.
Yep.
I drive past there 10 times a day.
Yeah.
I love Marty. He's so cool. He's one of my favorite characters in Curb. He's so good. I just love how he just like even when he had like the black, like the dick cake as well, and just other things to like fuck Larry up mentally as well. I just love it. He just kind of gets under Larry's skin. He's one of the only people that knows how to purposely do it. He can read Larry like a book, can't he?
Yeah, it's like subtle psychological warfare. He knows how to beat him.
He does. I know.
He'd make a really good spy. There's stories
if he was to spy on Larry.
There's stories about how like journalists or anyone who's suspected of being a spy, or especially in Russia, like part of their whole counterintelligence philosophy is to just mess with people psychologically. I've heard reports of, like, say, a journalist, like an American journalist who lives in Moscow, but who might be critical of the of the Russian government. They're not going to go in there and arrest them, but what they'll do is the journalist will leave for the day to go to work, and then they'll come back, and then stuff in the house will be rearranged, like a few things, like a picture will be in a different room, just small things. And they're not like telling them to leave, but they're just saying, we are watching you and we're going to fuck with you. And it just really like makes people paranoid. So it almost kind of feels like that, like subtle like psychological warfare that spies would do, just to like mess with people's heads.
If Marty was in the KGB, if he was Russian, if he was like Martin.
Yeah, he would break into Larry's house and like move. Larry would record something on the TiVo. He would go out for the day, and then Marty would break in and like delete what he recorded on the TiVo, and then
or maybe he
Larry
would record
would
like
go,
the adults only channel or something. instead.
Yeah,
of the game.
he'll record something different. Yeah, he'll record
yeah.
like a different channel, or he'll
A
just
nature
do subtle
documentary
stuff
or
to him.
something.
Exactly.
Something to fuck Larry, even though he wants to watch the ball
Yeah.
game or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just like it's psychological warfare. I think
That's
he would
what
do
I love
stuff like
about
that if
Marty.
he could.
Yeah, he really he knows how to get under Larry's skin subtly. I love
For
it.
sure.
I love Bob Einstein. What a legend he was. Yeah, rest in peace, man. You had a wonderful character, Bob.
Yeah, no, Marty's awesome.
Awesome. Larry admits to Cheryl's therapist as they're at lunch together that he was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's as a way to kill her attraction to him. She admits that she was hoping that there was some kind of future together. She offers to help Larry and says that he needs to get back to his wife. Larry pretends that they didn't order food even though they did, to kind of, go with the idea that he has early onset Alzheimer's. Oh yeah, she describes what kind of Alzheimer's is it, early onset? And Larry's like, oh no, it's even earlier than that. Oh no, it's not quite early, but it's not late. It's kind of like in the middle. He said something like that, right?
Yeah, something. He's he makes up a phase of Alzheimer's.
So between early and middle or something. He's making up like a spectrum of Alzheimer's. Yeah, he's like saying I'm on the lower spectrum of Alzheimer's. Yeah,
he makes up a stage of Alzheimer's. Describe his specific scenario.
Terrible.
Such a weirdo.
It is. So to go along with it, Larry pretends they didn't order food, even though they did, to kind of play along. A police detective goes up to the therapist and asks about the purse thief. He turns to Larry to ask what the thief looked like, and Larry pretends to not remember what he looked like to go with the whole Alzheimer's story. The scene cuts to Dr. Bright walking out of prison, so Larry's lack of testimony saved Dr. Bright from a lengthy prison term. So, it actually kind of worked out, and it's good to see. Like, I think it would have been even though Dr. Bright gave terrible advice, I don't think it was at the point where he deserved to be in prison for a long time. I think it would have been a bit of a bitter ending if Dr. Bright was left in prison.
Even what he went through was too much. Like,
yeah, it was too much. Yeah.
Like, imagine if you made a mistake at your job and you got sent to jail. Like, everyone's entitled to make mistakes. Even therapists are allowed to give bad advice from time to time. They are just human. I think it was more egregious of him to go along with Larry to Cheryl's house. I think that was worse than just giving terrible advice.
Yeah, it was. But it's good to see that a wrong was righted, and even though Dr. Bright had a bad judgment call, he's out of prison, and Larry greets him. And Dr. Bright, it seems like I said before that he might have had like depression, but I feel like his depression kind of exacerbated being in prison, and he says he doesn't know what to do with his life anymore after prison. He's got no idea. Larry doesn't listen to him, and he says straight out that he and Cheryl are going out tonight, so he completely disregards Dr. Bright's feelings.
Yeah,
doesn't even acknowledge them.
He don't give a shit.
He don't give a shit.
He got what he wanted, and that's it. That's all that matters.
That's it. So I'm guessing the therapist probably talked to Cheryl because she thought that Larry has Alzheimer's, and she's like, I got no chance. So my guess is probably he didn't want to, maybe for confidentiality, she didn't want to say that she met Larry outside of their therapy sessions to Cheryl. So she had the idea that maybe because he has Alzheimer's, maybe I should tell Cheryl to get back with him to kind of enjoy the last few years that he's got. So maybe he can be with her before he dies. That's kind of my
she wants Larry to be happy, and because she has feelings for him, and she knows the only way that he'll be happy if he's got Alzheimer's is getting back with Cheryl.
But even though she wouldn't have told Cheryl about the Alzheimer's, probably for he wanted to supposedly keep it private or whatever, but maybe she's thinking Cheryl, just to be with Larry for the next 3, 5, 10 years or whatever it is, for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably best for Cheryl and Larry as well.
The feelings that she's developed for Larry don't seem like jealous love, where you just want the person for yourself. It seems like
unrequited.
It seems like a love or love or romantic interest where you just want what's best for the person, even if it's at your own detriment.
That's right. Yeah, so it's kind of good that they went that way as well. She seems like a really good therapist, way better than Dr. Bright.
Well, she puts her own feelings second to her patients. That's a good. That's not just a good therapist. That's a good person. I think.
Good person overall.
She seems very selfless.
Yeah, very selfless. Yeah, good for her. No, she did the right thing, even though she thinks Larry has early to mid onset Alzheimer's. Oh, what an idiot. The scene cuts to Cheryl and Larry in the evening. They're at some kind of fair or carnival, and they're playing one of the games to win prizes. They celebrate as they win a top prize, a big plush toy. They kiss and hold each other as they walk off. Dr. Bright is in a therapy session with Cheryl's therapist. He begins to talk about a bald client of his as the scene cuts. Larry and Cheryl are on the Ferris wheel and kiss and hold each other, and it's kind of implied at this point that Cheryl is happy with Larry. Larry asks her to move back in with him and doesn't give her an ultimatum. He just says, whenever you're ready, you can come back. Cheryl, you think that everything is good, right? Everything is back, the Davids are back, everything is all well and good. But no, like you said before, Steve, sometimes, there's situations where things go good for Larry, but then a week later, a day later, a scene later, things go to shit. Larry's kind of untruths come back to bite him in the ass. Cheryl's phone rings and it's the therapist. Cheryl's mouth is wide open as it is implied that she is told by the therapist what Larry did. And she can't get off the Ferris wheel, obviously. So, everything basically unraveled in 5 seconds. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, it all comes to naught for Larry.
Comes to naught for Larry, that's right. And we see in the final episode of season 6 that Larry's still single. So obviously it didn't work out. And I'd imagine Cheryl is probably at this point, once she hears what's happened, she's probably like, I could imagine the berating that Larry would have got on the Ferris wheel. And she can't get off. It's not like she can just jump off.
That would have been very
put
awkward.
up with him till they got off. I'm guessing she probably just got off the wheel and just walked out. She's like, I thought you changed. This is the most disgusting thing you've ever done. How could you?
Yeah, she would have just given him a spray. He would have gone, but he would have tried to justify it or find a reason to make it okay, which is justifying it. I don't know why I said that.
I know what you mean, but she would have said, "This is probably the worst thing you've ever done."
Yep.
Yeah, she would have been like, "That's it." No.
And I think as well, it would have been a case of like, I can't, no matter what you do from here on in to try and win me back, I'm not going to be able to trust it. Like, it's just going to be like, you've compromised any potential ability for me to take you seriously or take you at your word that you actually want to get back together. Like, it's not just an agenda. It's not coming from a real place.
Well, when we see Cheryl's mouth wide open in shock, we know that's the moment where she's done with Larry. That's it. There's no going back. The fire's burnt out.
Yeah. Any last bit of goodwill or trust or willingness to, give him another chance is completely and utterly extinguished forever. Well, at least for a long time.
For a long time, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a good way to end it, I think. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It all unraveled. Larry's lies just got
totally. And look, at this point, given how much, given what Larry did, I kind of almost feel like there's a bit of Schadenfreude where I'm like, you know what? Even though I feel sorry for you that Cheryl left you, that's hard. The fact that you just kind of fucked over a therapist and what you did to try and win her back was so fucked up that I don't feel sorry for you. The fact that Cheryl found out and that that you've got no chance now, I'm almost like suffering your jocks, mate.
Suffering your jocks, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well, that's the way
he made his bed and he's got to sleep in it.
Well, he does in the first scene of next episode. The bat.
He does actually. Yeah.
He's in bed literally. He's literally lying in the bed that he's made.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's true. What do you give this episode out of 5 Larrys?
3.5. I mean, It was a good episode. I enjoyed Steve Coogan's guest appearance. Probably one of the best guest appearances so far in the series. Really, really enjoyed it. He was great. I feel after discussing with you, a few things like Larry being seen as, questioning why he put all of his faith into Dr. Bright and not considering, the consequences of anything, of trying to do the ultimatum. And a couple of other little plot holes here and there. Which didn't quite make sense. And not enough Leon, I don't think. That's probably another criticism. I love Leon. I wanted to see more of him, but I mean, good episode overall. Steve Coogan, he was a star. He was great. But probably in comparison to season 6 overall is fantastic. Still a very good episode overall, but compared for season 6 overall, one of the weaker episodes.
Okay.
And that's saying that goes to show how high caliber this season is. Even an average to below average episode in this season is 3.5. So what does that tell you? What about you?
I give it 4. I quite like the episode. I like the push and pull of it. Larry, you think Larry's back in and then he's out and then he's back in, then he's out. It's kind of kept you guessing. I thought that was interesting writing. You didn't really know which way it was going to go. I mean, I guess in some way you could foresee that it was all going to be for nothing as it turned out. But as you were watching the episode, it was on, off. And I kind of enjoyed that. It didn't follow a typical episode formula. Usually it's Larry, if something is going well and then it all falls apart for Larry, usually it happens once, not 2 or 3 times in quick succession. That I thought was I really appreciated that. Steve Coogan as Dr. Bright was great. I thought that this was probably Larry at some of his most meanest and most self-centered, which I kind of like. I mean, just the fact that he just didn't give a shit about old mate going to jail and, yeah, I just like it was pretty like, yeah, I just thought it was some of his most cruel, self-centered behavior in the whole series so far. But I kind of
And if
enjoyed
it wasn't for Larry's testimonial or lack of testimonial pretending to have Alzheimer's, they had no proof that it was Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright would have been in jail for a very, very long time.
Him ending up not staying in jail was just dumb luck.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was coincidence. Yeah, it was just like the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
And it was lucky that Larry came up with that idea about having Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I kind of enjoyed it. You know, Larry's got less to lose now that he's, you know, single. Even though he's trying to regain the most important part of his life, he just seems a bit more reckless, which I kind of enjoy. It's a bit more chaotic. You know, he's
almost like a caged animal, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's got his back to the wall.
He's got some chaos energy happening, and I kind of like it.
My favorite part of the episode is when everything looks great with Cheryl right at the end there, and then she gets the phone call, and we see her facial expression, and that's it.
No, good final scene.
Like, like then the Curb theme starts playing, and you're like, yep, it's over. Cheryl, well, like you said, any last bit of goodwill that Cheryl had towards Larry, extinguished.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you kind of knew that was going to happen when you saw Dr. Bright in Cheryl's therapist's office. You're like, well, you know, obviously he's going to tell her, that's all going to unravel. But the way that they showed that, I thought was really good. Yeah.
It was really good as well. Yeah. But anyway, that was The Therapists. Good episode. Thank you so much for listening. That was another episode of Curbcast. We are back next week for the final episode of a fantastic season. That was season 6, the best season, in my opinion, so far of Curb Your Enthusiasm. We are watching these episodes. Brand new, Stephen and I, we haven't watched from season 3 onwards. We haven't watched these episodes before, so we're doing it all fresh for the first time, which is an absolute joy. It's wonderful. Stephen, there's some ways you can get in touch with us.
That's right. You can email us, curbcastpod@gmail.com. We're on social media as well. Curbcastpod is our handle. Check out the details in the show notes. We've got a Patreon account if you want to support us. And if you want to support us without giving us any of your hard-earned cash, you can rate us or review us on your podcast app of choice, or just let someone in your life know about us who might like us.
Indeed. Any support would go a long way.
Indeed.
My name's Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we'll catch you next week for the final episode of the wonderful Season 6, The Bat Mitzvah, and bringing Curbcast Season 6 home. And of course, like we do every season, we do give a small recap at the end about our feelings about the season overall. And I think, Steve, you and I will have lots of praise for Season 6, I feel.
Yeah, no, looking forward to summing it all up and reflecting on what's been a great season.
Indeed. You take care of yourselves and each other. We'll catch you for the final episode of Season 6 next week. Bye for now. Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of Mishmash Media, an independent podcast network. Follow us on social media at Mishmash Media AU or support us on Patreon. All those links are in the show notes.